Oh, it still smells of petrol. Happy 2023. Happy 2023. It is Wednesday the 4th and I'm still on time off. So I've got some jobs to do to the elan. I did take a few videos over Christmas, which I might see if I can splice in just to show you what I've been up to. Did a bit of welding on the door bracket for the electric motor. Done a bit of pissing about with breathers. I've ordered a heart breather, by the way, which will be interesting. But this video is mainly going to be concerned with tidying up the wiring and removing the fuel tank because it's leaking from the fuel sender. So I'm going to whip that out and reseal it, put it back in, and then tidy up this rat's nest of horribleness, so at least it looks presentable when other boys come and look at my car, so they don't think I'm awful. And yeah, then just a general tidy up because it's a shit hole in here, but yeah, it's not too cold, so I'm going to crack on, get stuff done and achieve stuff. So watch me make some FUCK ups. Check me with the non-swearing. New year, new me. Alright, well, I've got the tank out. Fairly simple affair, just three bolts hold it in, and then just one hose on because it's not fuel injected. I drained it out the night before and stuck everything in the Mercedes, which will love it. And you say it's been leaking for a bit, it's lifted all the paint. It's pretty grotty down there. I'm going to be honest, it's going to stay pretty grotty. I'm not interested in tidying it up. It's all of this bit, I'll just get the excess residual fuel out, but ultimately this is going to be under a tank and I'm going to build a floor. You know, it's not a concourse car, it'll be fine. But onto the tank. So, well, you can see where it's been leaking. So from what I can see, it's been leaking through the screws, I think, I don't know. I mean, it could be leaking out the gasket as well. It doesn't really matter. I've got a new gasket. I've got some Permatex, which will seal not only the gasket, but also seal the threads and the screws. So I'm going to remove this, give it a clean up, and then whack a new one on. Okay, now again, I'm no expert, but that gasket surface looks like it's been sealing really well on that side. No obvious problems that I can see there, so one can only assume it is actually indeed coming through the set screws. These are set screws, aren't they? Check me out. Holding that in. So yeah, time to give this a clean up, give the screws a clean up, and then get my Permatex out and get this sealed properly. Alright, got everything nicely cleaned up, and the sender is level. It's not entirely perfectly flat, but it's level enough. So I've got the Permatex, which I use to do the sump. So layer of Permatex, gasket on, layer of Permatex on there, and then there is a procedure, it says, for the threads, which I'll have to do. So I think that's where I came unstuck last time, although cleaning those off, you can clearly see that they were covered in, I'd have probably used Hylamar before. So yeah, this might not work if I do the same that I did last time, but I don't know I don't know what else to do, so I'm gonna have to do it again. So yeah, seeing as I can't find my phone stand, you'll just have to imagine me doing this, and then well, actually I'll cut back when I put some sealant on. Alright, so here is the Permatex on, and I've let that dry a little bit too much. I don't really like going over the bolt holes. I was preferring to smear it, but this stuff is super tacky. So very thin smear, gasket laid on, line it up, there we go. The gasket is laid on, and I'm always tempted just to put a little bit of weight on it. That will do. Got a smear on here, and then a very mucky job of putting it on the threads. Now, that was difficult, and some of them have got a bit more, some have got a bit less. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a smear on the outside face, just to help seal the crown, the head of the screw in. But yeah, I'm going to leave that for 5 minutes. And I'm going to plonk that down, put the screws in just to guide it, put a bit of weight on, and then hopefully that should be it. And then obviously you can't really torque them up very tight because it's a cork gasket. You don't want to squeeze it out, but you know, I suppose the proof of the pudding's in the filling up with fuel and seeing if it leaves little wet marks on the floor. Fucking thing. Oh shit, I saw. Fuck. Oh god, I didn't do that on purpose. Honestly. Right, I'll report back. Right, so it's back on and I have got it the right way up, I hope. Not that I run a fuel gauge anyway, although I do have a plan for the fuel gauge. I might just mount it in the rear bulkhead. I know I'd have to turn around to see it, but I don't want to give up my AFR gauge because I'm just in love with it, and there's no other space for it on the dash without hacking a great big hole in it, which, although that's exactly the sort of thing I usually do, I just don't want to do it. So I may just have it in the back, you know, and then I can just turn around and glance at it rather than, well, at the moment I just fill up every 150 miles, which works fine. But yeah, it's just difficult to know how tight to do these. I mean, I'm just going around giving them little nips until I just feel a bit of resistance. So I know on the sump you can go around and re-torque them, but on this, once it's in, you can't reach this. It's right up against the right against that bit there, so you can't get to it. And you know, looking at it, it looks a little bit compressed. I mean, I don't know, I think I might just give it like an eighth of a turn more. Means by the time I get back round to the first one, this was really tight. I'm just going to go around in a circle and just do them all up to the same resistance. And then I think the key message for this is just stop. Quit. You know, you're ahead. Nothing's gone wrong yet. Let's see how it goes. But it's got really good, both surfaces are flat. It's got really good gasket sealant on both sides. I've done the threads, I've done the underside of the screw head as well. There's absolutely no reason why this shouldn't be sealed and good to go. So I'm just going to give the underside a bit of a clean up. I don't know why, no one's ever going to see it. And then, do I put it back in today or do I let it cure? I mean, what am I going to do once it's cured? Am I going to nip them up again? I suppose, I don't know. I don't know, I just don't know. I mean, am I going to nip them up again? That's the question. But if I'm not, I may as well just put it back in. It doesn't give a shit if it's out here or in there, does it? As long as I don't put fuel in it, it doesn't really matter. I'll report back. Right, I've made my decision. I'm going to leave it and not refit it till tomorrow because it really doesn't take very long to refit. So it's not a major job. And I'm so confident I did the job right last time. But when I
removed it, these screws were very loose. I mean, they were, you know, less than finger tight. So I think I'm just going to let it sit, just let it do its thing for 24 hours, and then just give them a little nip and then throw it back in. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a hard job. If I get it wrong, I'll just have to do it again. So there we go. So we'll leave that mess there because we're professionals, and we'll come to this mess here, which is the wiring. So essentially, I will at one stage make a nice board and put all the relays down and everything, but it's probably about 150 quid's worth of bits, and I'm about to spend all my money at string theory getting all of the suspension set up. And whilst that is horrible, it does actually work. It works faultlessly. I never really have any electrical problems in this car. It just works, you know, always starts. Nothing ever really goes wrong. So I do want to tidy it up a bit. So if you just wait, cut, uncut, look at what I've bought. Bought a load of really big heat shrink and this braided over covering. So essentially what I can do is group wires together, put the braiding over it, and then seal the ends with the heat shrink. So it is it's not a bodge, but it will just tidy things up and make them look a little bit neater, which ultimately, it's like running down here, that will all just be one nice, neat braid. You know, there won't be any pissing about. All of this coming over here will be nice and neat. Oh, and I've also bought, to get rid of these P-clips, because they never, once you've used them once into fiberglass, they're useless. Some stick-on adhesive zip tie mounts, so I can just jip, and if I want to take stuff off, I just undo the zip ties and put new ones in. And there is this big mess. Now this wasn't me. This is previous owner stuff. So I'm going to tidy all that up, group the wires together best I can. I'm going to remove that because I don't use the map sensor anymore. Now we have the TPS, and hopefully it should be neater and it all still works. Let's see. Right, so we're making a bit of progress. This lovely bit of braiding, neatened it up no end, secured with a zip tie and then a bit of heat shrink. I'm going to attack this big one yet because there's a load of redundant wires and stuff that's not needed. Before I get into this, I can't do these bits because the braiding I've ordered is too big, so I've got to wait for some new stuff to arrive and I can get that tidied up. But if by the end of play today I can have this up to about here done, be a very happy boy. Truth be told, I have no idea how I'm going to stitch a video together out of all of this random filming I've been doing, but one of my jobs over winter was to investigate the rattly window. I thought it was the seal. I jammed that up. It's not the seal, it was actually down here. This is the kind of bottom brace bar where the electric, yes, they are electric window motor sits, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there'll be a crack, and that when the motor, which is, I don't know, might even be a kilogram, flexes the torque, it pops it in and out, and then obviously when it's when you shut the door, it vibrates like mad. So I don't think I'm going to be able to solve the vibration because there's no kind of attachment point for this bar in the middle of the door. It only attaches down here and here. And here you can see what might be the original colour, by the way, which is lighter than the rest of the body looks, but very much the same as what was under the arches. So who knows? Who knows? So I don't physically think I can stop it vibrating unless maybe when the motor goes back in, I can tie it into the door frame here. but I don't know if that's just going to be making a problem elsewhere that I don't need to make. This, if this goes back in, I'll be absolutely amazed. I don't think it's long for this world. You can see someone's been hacking around in here before. There's fucking cables, and there's a door handle fix. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to see if I can... I'll zap a bit of weld up there. I don't believe that needs to be smooth, so I'll just put the Dremel in it and then give it a few zaps just to strengthen it, because that's only going to get worse. I mean, I don't really know if I need to do anything about it at all, but I probably should. So I'm going to weld that up and then put it back together, and I may investigate putting some sort of clamp round here and tying it into the door. But then again, probably not. Okay, not the world's best welding, but in a tricky spot. That will do the job. I'm hoping it's got good penetration. I've got no way of telling. And the glass, you can see, doesn't actually come out the top of the door, so it doesn't matter if it got a little bit of splatter. They're just battle scars anyway. But yeah, this, you know, there's movement there, which isn't too bad. But when you've got a great big hulking motor on it, and you slam the door, it just flap around. But I honestly, I don't know what I can do about that. I'm going to put the motor back in now, and then I'm going to see if I can. I mean, maybe something as simple as well, not a zip tie, but a Jubilee clip round it, and just tie it into this moulding, just to hold it firm. I mean, I think that's what Colin would do. I don't know, maybe he wouldn't. But then Colin did put the fuel tank on the same side as the driver in a 700 kilogram car, so he's not fucking infallible, he's not infallible, the old boy. Oh, it's back together, and it's making a different noise. It's usually more rattly than that, but I think if I want to get rid of it, I've got to shut the door like that, or just put up with the bloody thing. What was next? Oh yeah, fuel tank's leaking, but the gasket hasn't arrived yet, and I've got to use a bit more fuel up. Well, I've got to empty the tank. I may as well burn it off in enjoyment rather than pumping it out. But yeah, I think that's probably it for today. Not really sure what else I can do other than go for a drive. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. I want my handbrake working. That'll be the next job. If I get my handbrake at least to hold it on a flat surface, I'll be a happy boy. So I'm going to have a look at that now. And here we are. It's all back together. The wiring's just as untidy as it was before. Done a few of them too short. Although this one, look at that. Oh, beautiful. Anyway, I was getting so annoyed with it I didn't do a lot of filming. But it's been out today. It's working, it's driving, and it's off to string theory to have all the wheels, and it's having the bump steer, caster, camber, toe all completely done, all the corner weighting, everything, whole lot. They're having it for a whole week, so it's going to come back and it's going to be delicious to drive. Delicious. It's already booked in for track days. We're doing Bedford in March. We're doing Blyton with the Yorkshire Lotus group. Can't remember when, sometime in the summer. We're doing Landau again. We're doing Cadwell. The sump, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but there are no leaks. There are no leaks. And since my new patented breather system coming off the dipstick has been installed, it's breathing beautifully. So I'm going to put my heart breather in. I think that might have to stay, because I just don't think I don't think on a Lotus twin cam, I think the standard breather gets blocked up. I think there's probably shit in there. I think the crankcase doesn't have anywhere to go to, and that's probably why the sump used to leak so much. Anyway, I'm going to cut this video short, and you will see it in a few days when it is outside string theory, and then I will report back with what I think. Toodle pip.